Cheers. It's officially holiday season here in the States. It's that sacred time of year when St. Brendan offers libations to abroad. So I'm enjoying myself a little Irish coffee here. And I thought, let's drop in. Let's do something just for the fun of it, man. Let's not take it too seriously. Let's bring in a little lightness and levity. Let's dive into some arcane BS. Got a storm blowing in out here. Got a snow front coming in. The gales have been a galing, and that reminds me of a previous download that came in. It was a bonus read. I think it might have been for Aries. I'm not certain, but that could be connected to the action of Chiron retrograde. Aries has been hosting Chiron. I believe the name of it was The Master of the Gales. I feel like that download's being activated now, 1:08 on the clock. Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It has something to do with big, sexy Satan here and something you've been looking for that he's been holding for you in the underworld. You know, you can give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but you teach him how to fish and he'll eat forever. And there's something you got to dive deep for here, but if you retrieve it, it's something that'll feed your soul for a long time to come. But it may require you to face off with a particular devil. All right, this might be challenging. This might be a handsome devil. This could be an enticing, seductress devil. You could be convinced to hang out there in the underworld for a spell. Interesting. Okay, so I feel collectively that download, Master of the Gales, is coming in, and I'll make sure to bring that in. By Crom, I think I've got it. That reminds me of Crom Cruach. You know, I've been learning a lot about old Crom Cruach, at least what can be learned, what can be grokked. He's very mysterious. There's not a lot that's known about him, but there is a lot of lore. There is a lot that precedes him, you could say, and this could be a character like this for that to come in. But you got to pay attention to the source of your information. You see, all the negativity that we have associated with Crom Cruach comes from St. Patrick. And we know that St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland. And the snakes were not those kind of snakes that slither on their belly, but rather those who ran in opposition to old St. Patrick's agenda. So do be mindful of the source before you label somebody a particular devil, a malignant force. Interesting. All right, let's see what this is. The whiskey's talking to me. Yeah, it does. It gets the synapses firing off in the brain. It gets the brain turned on when you start to dive a little bit deeper, when you challenge your perspective of a situation, especially when there's 6 degrees of separation with the orgy here. There's a lot of connections that you're dealing with here that are kind of causing you to bypass your own internal wisdom, your own internal knowing here. Yeah. It's got you a little bit in survival mode, you know. You recognize that the horn of judgment is sounding here. You're second guessing that rusty trombone with that side, you know. It seemed like it would gratify in the moment, but it turned out to be some false contentment. Now you feel like you're fighting for your life. You got to keep on moving, man. You got to stay locked on what's needed to make it through this terrain. There's 3 involved here. We got the number 3 factoring prominently in this situation. I like the way you're positioned here, though. I do feel like you got your eyes on a particular target you're about to breach. The barrier of what others think is possible. You believe you can fly. You believe you could touch the sky. And you certainly can, just like those great whites that we see set their sights on their target, and they're able to launch themselves like a missile out of the air and embrace a different kind of stratosphere. There's something that you got your sights set on here. But there's also others here. There's others on the side. They're on the sidelines. They're telling you you're not exercising sound judgment here. These could even be intimate connections. There could be like a lot of intimate connections that are involved in a particular situation. Yeah, somebody's telling you they have all the answers here. They come off rather pious, but this person's hands are dirty. They're a grease priest, man. They have their own indiscretions and lack of better judgment at the wheel, and maybe their own desires. Their own desires that are concealed, you know? What are they wanting out of it? Why is it so important for them to sway your view in a particular direction? You may have started to question this yourself. Could be a Gemini connection here. There's something you're really studying, and I feel it's made you stop. Whatever this is with the double caveman here, it's like, you don't need to hit me over the head twice. I feel like you already learned a pretty rough lesson in this situation. You may have been dealing with somebody who's really intractable, somebody who's old school, somebody who's set in their ways. Once they decide that something is this way, that's the way it is. And there's no trying to reason with this person. You try to reason with this person, it's going to start an argument. They're going to get in your face. They're going to stir things up. They're going to make everything dramatic. This person doesn't know how to have a calm communication. And it actually is a way that they manipulate. You know, if they can stir everything up, if they can make everything really heated, then before you know it, you're kind of caught up in that. You forget what you even approached this person for. They have you doubting your own reasoning here because of the way they come at you, so impassioned. They're so convincing. They're not for you really activating your independent thought in a situation. And yet there's something here about already being burned and recognizing that you got to make an important choice at this time. And time may be very much on your mind. Time may be ticking here. There's something about recognizing the passage of time and seeing that you're getting older and that nothing's really changed. You're still feeling divided. No action's been taken. And you know, that's the thing about the shark. For the shark to survive, it has to keep moving. It can't stop. The only time that you'll ever see a shark in this kind of like catatonic state where it's just sort of floating vertical is if they've been hypnotized, you know? You can get them right there on the snout, and because of the sensors there, it has an effect on their brain where it temporarily kind of puts them under a spell. Maybe that's what's held you in place here. Somebody distracted you in some way. But now you recognize it. You got to make up for lost time. You got to face off with this opponent here if you're going to find your way to what really gets the blood pumping in your heart. You do have a certain truth here. You retrieve that truth through pulling a knife that was put in your back, but you're using it to cut through a certain veil of illusion. You're cutting your way out of the borders that were put around you here. You faced off with the nemesis, and it involved you shattering a lot of reflections of your former self. And I do feel like you got a chariot coming in here. You're skating forward here. You're moving forward in a different way than anticipated. But you do have your sights on lock. And I do feel like you're ready to face off with whatever wants to get in your way. I mean, I see this energy here. You're like on laser lock. You might be here right now, like really understanding that currently you're hedge riding, you're straddling a divide. And now you have to act. There will come the moment when you need to act. Some of you have been pretending to be in that catatonic state. You've been pretending like you don't have a clue, but you do. You've been secretly stewing inside. Interesting. or you're dealing with somebody who's feeling like this. All right, let me get some more details here about this scenario. What is this about, man? You may be invited to grab a bite with this person. I don't know, maybe both of you aren't around your family at this time of year. You're just gonna, you know, go and grab something simple together. This is a connection that you cut off at one time. I see that with the decision maker here. Got that swords energy coming through. Some kind of decisive awareness that a situation had become a little bit too complicated. With all the 6 degrees of separation, everybody who was connected in this mix, it became an incredible knot, a ball of confusion, and you didn't want to be caught up in that. So you just simply cut through it. You didn't need to spend any time sorting this out, trying to unravel this. You know, I feel like whatever this is, you have full authority over your own choices here. Nobody is pulling your strings, even though they may think they are. I see you've been thinking very clearly here, crown intact, crown warded. Nobody's tapping in. Nobody has mind control over you. You've seen through some kind of illusion, and you've already taken decisive action. You cut off this ball of confusion. Absolutely, you cleanse this energy away. You recognize that this was a force you needed to protect yourself from if you really valued your freedom here. And so you decided to take that axe and cut through those chains that bound you to where you stood. You were no longer willing to settle for half-price hot wings. You didn't want to deal with this sort of bottom feeder energy where you never could really trust who you were negotiating with here, because there already had been shots fired. And this is something that is coming up out of the crypt. It's all of these connections and the way that creates some complication here. There's a lot of secrets that are going to be revealed, a lot of secrets that are kind of come to light with that Gemini full moon that arrives on the sea. We got this coffin full of tacos, full of snakes. And I don't know, I got this impression that that is the very thing that got cut off here. There's like too many shared connections here, intimate shared connections here. It created a ball of confusion, and somebody said, no, not interested in that, thanks. And where there's been some narrative spun around whoever cut this off, because they knew exactly what was going on here. Nobody ran a game on them. Others are going to see it too, because I do feel like something messy is coming to light. All the secrets are coming out of the crypt, okay? We got strong swords energy out here. Got some Aquarian reference here, some Gemini reference here, Scorpio reference with those snakes. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Yeah, somebody wants to see if they can gain access to your hidden places, and I don't think they got what it takes to open that door with the floppy key there. Oh no. No entry, Queen of Holes. It may have worked in the past, but your power's been lost here. And this isn't about a rebirth cycle. This is something that's heading south fast. Yes, well, you wanted to peer into the mystery. You wanted to gain access to what was hiding behind that door, but there was a price to pay. The cost of the sight. The cost of the sight. Interesting. I feel like somebody used to have a way to understand what was going on behind the scenes, and now they lost their ability to have that sight. Now, there's a few ways that that could come through. Maybe they had a falling out with somebody, and that door's been shut. That connection's been cut. And so now they can't pump this person for information. I mean, in some cases, they were actually pumping this person for information, you know. They found access intimately. They were hooking up with this person, and they used what was shared during that pillow talk as a way to gain access to entry in places and spaces where they were not allowed. You know, they used it to their advantage, and in that way it was a real binding influence here. Look at that, with the eagle chained to a calf. I mean, we know whoever was subject to this, it could even be a musician here, they cut that off with a quickness. This person's just recently got themselves free. And they could have a counterpart here that's done the same, that didn't fall for the games. I see that. Fall for the games of the Queen of Holes, who's been misusing power, who's been hanging out, you know, moving subversively in this situation, stirring up controversy, stirring up drama, having people shooting shots at each other. Was hoping to go for another round at this to gain entry, like something about stirring up the drama. Maybe can pull this individual back into a particular circle where they feel like they can get the upper hand again with this effing guy, okay? Ooh, what's behind that? Oh, but this effing guy is saying, I don't got enough spoons, man. Time's up on that. You're not going to be using me as your vehicle forward, coming in with the horse death, all right? This journey has come to an end. There's no more loyalty here. There was at one point, but now you don't have enough spoons. You don't have enough spoons. There's no rebirth here. This is something coming to an end. This is a foiled plan, because King Shit closed that road. He said, you shall not pass. I flushed that. I've let all that go. Strong fire sign energy coming through here. Flush the bullshit. Took the bull by the horn, said no more to that. It's overdue. It's been needing to happen for a long time now with the urinal death. And someone's feeling the heat of that decision with hang in there. The flames are starting to lap at their consciousness here. I think they're feeling like, I don't know, I got this, like the mind is burning, like wishing you could burn through memories, wishing you could burn through memories of past actions taken. Somebody in this situation is haunted by the actions they took in a particular matter here. They had the power at one time, but it's not in their hands anymore. I feel like the Queen of Holes lost power to this effing guy who leveled up as a result, took back his crown, just like another counterpart here, it looks like, because they're in alignment with the decision maker here. You see? King Shit and the decision maker know how to get through a lot of complication and know how to cut off what doesn't lead to anywhere here. And with the birthday corpse in reverse, there could be something about someone who recently had a birthday, has an upcoming birthday coming in, all right, connected to this. Or there could have been something that became very clear at a birthday party. Something was seen that wasn't seen before. And that's what clued you into the clue that you had been looking for. And then you finally understood where the true opportunity lies. But in order to receive this Ace of Cups that wants to come in, not only do you have to open yourself up to the experience, not only do you need to use the vision of hindsight to guide you toward the future, there's also something you have to let go here. Something has to come to an end if you're going to draw this down and root it in your reality. But there's a lot of indications here about having what it takes to do it with the baseball goat. I mean, there's a lot of power here that's being held. I do feel like the power first came in through the energy of the sword, like being very decisive, being very clear, taking back your own inner authority over your independent thought, not letting other people tell you what to do or whether or not you can trust what you've already intuited. You just knew that you understood what was operating here. You spotted where the confusion was being created, and so you eliminated it. You said, I don't need to sort this out. I don't need to be loyal to this. This is annihilation. Let's cut this off. And I feel like maybe in you taking this action, this effing guy was able to remember something too. It's almost coming through as like something rising up out of the crypt, something that was once mummified, you know, but it's been reanimated. It could even be like some kind of past life recall. It could even be like past life from when somebody was younger, you know, more foolish. They might have recognized they were still acting out of a place that they've outgrown. Whatever this is, they let that go. And once they did that, like their vision came on board. They could see things clearly. They started gaining a certain strength. It's like it powered them up. And now they know exactly where they're going. It's like the vision's on lock. This keeps coming through in this read. Like this person has a one-track mind. One-track mind over you. One-track mind over you. Johnny Thunder. Yes, yes, yes. Somebody's got a one-track mind over you. And they're ready to usher in the new year in a new way. They moved through that territory of the 8th house of Scorpio. They did their spiritual cleansing. And now they're ready to call judgment on something. And they're not going to play martyr for these past dalliances. There could be a couple unicorns, man, that they've been involved with that are trying to catch this person up, thinking they can hold this over this person. But I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible. There could even be a situation where this effing guy almost got caught up by one of these unicorns who was trying to get them to root their seed in their cavern of doom. But you got privy to their plan. You're like, oh, no. You're not going to make a martyr out of me. You exercise that eagle medicine. You might have had old Odin there helping you out. You got a view from atop the world tree and you said, no, I know what's up here. There's every indication here. It's coming through for both the feminine and masculine here about reclaiming your crown. And what I think that's really about is just like trusting your own take on a situation, your own perspective, your own wisdom, your own experience, not needing somebody else to dictate where you need to go. And that's so funny. It's like somebody thought they could toy around with you and they actually wanted to pull you down into the underground. They thought that you wouldn't be able to resurface after, you know, wading through the gutter with them. It's got those vibes, like this energy of it, you know? Stephen King's It. Stephen King could be a connection. This person could be a big Stephen King fan. They thought they were being real tricksy here. Thought they could get you caught up. Worked with a little bit of that seduction of the snake. Had a target on your happiness here. And you might have been fooled at first. You might have been taken in by a good time with the orgy here. It might have gained control over your mind for a bit. But I think soon you spotted the complicated connections here. I think you realized that there was a certain group of people in play in this situation that were all working together, though you thought maybe initially that there wasn't any correlation there, but you saw something clearly and you cut yourself down. You set yourself free. You're like, you're not going to drag me down into the gutter with you. You took back your power in this situation. You cut off the nonsense in your situation. You got somebody here who's mirroring you. And with that, we got chaos, mom. Hail Eris, okay? So You are going through a transformation at this time. The transformation you're going through, it may be something that to other people would feel like chaos, but to you, it's a piece of cake. You've navigated much trickier territory in this regard, okay? And I do feel that there's something you've set in motion here just recently. All you had to do was open your mouth. There's something you said, maybe called something out. But with Chaos Mom here, that's what it takes to birth a star. And when we're looking at that star, we're looking at your star gate, that sight you have set for where you're heading off into the future, and that ring of fire that you are prepared to step through to get to the sweet reward. And I mean, cock-a-doodle-doo. Sometimes it pays off to hedge your bets. Sometimes it pays off to go left. Sometimes it pays off to have the stubbornness and the resilience of the goat. Because we got here the gravy funnel coming in with big sexy Satan. So whatever you did here, it is bringing you some kind of reward. And it looks like you are favored by the gods. They're watching over you here. There's something you're bringing home to roost here. Let's do a cut of the deck and see what we got to cap this off. Oh yeah, you're all in with the flying man, diving in head first. Because you were able to understand what was working against you. And as a result, you activated your self-knowledge. And that's what's taking you up to your true north. This story is about to begin. Stay tuned.